Happy New Year, everybody! Since it is 2023, I've actually been reflecting on what I did in 2022, and 2022 was not a good year for me. I didn't know it at the time, but I realized that I went through some pretty traumatic stuff that I'm still kind of dealing with to this day, so that's not really good. But the silver lining in all of this is the fact that I have learned a lot about life. Like, a lot. And I wanted to share with you what I learned in 2022 in the hopes that it's going to help us move forward into 2023 with a little bit more emotional stability. Because a lot of people, including myself, would benefit from said stability. So here we go. Number one, nobody has it figured out. Like, nobody. Not even the top CEOs, not even the people who look like they have their life in order. Yeah, nobody. Every single person on this planet is winging it to a certain degree. When I was a kid, I thought that when I reached a certain age, I would become super knowledgeable about the world. I would know exactly what I wanted in life and exactly who I was as a person. But the older I get, the less I understand about the world and what I want from it. I'm pretty sure I went through like 2 life crises. It was all because I had no idea what I was doing. Until I realized that the point of life isn't to have it figured out, it's to just enjoy the small things, to enjoy the ride. Which is hard because life is like a roller coaster on a death train with a lot of spikes and fire hula hoops. What the fuck am I talking about? So what I've realized is to just use life to explore what I like, explore what I don't like, and just kind of go from there. Number two, your trauma was not your fault, but healing is your responsibility. So it's really unfair that a lot of us have been traumatized, taken advantage of, manipulated, and it's also kind of unfair that we have to deal with it and we have to heal from the trauma that somebody else or something else gave us. And even though it's really freaking unfair, it is the truth and it is our responsibility because nobody else can heal for us. People can support us and cheer us on from the sidelines, but the ones who have to process the trauma and have to figure out what works for us and what doesn't work for us is us. And to me, this was kind of unfair because I was like, why am I expected to clean up somebody else's mess? Like, this is so unfair. But whenever I get this way, I kind of remind myself that if I don't heal, I'm letting the people who traumatize me get away with it. And I am not going to let them get away with it. I am petty, okay? And this helps me fuel my fire to continue to heal. And hopefully it'll help you too. Number three, getting in your head will hold you back more than other people. This is kind of like imposter syndrome. Like, nobody else has said, oh, you can't do it, you're not qualified enough, you're not good enough. But we're the ones who tell ourselves that. And let's just say the worst case scenario happens. I mean, the worst case scenario is you not like starting it at all and just giving up from the beginning, but let's say that you started something, whether it be a hobby, a job, or whatever, a project or something, and you realize that you're really clueless, like you have no idea what you're doing. Are you going to give up just because you're not a master from the very beginning? No. It's better to start, make mistakes, learn, grow as a person, rather than to not start it at all. Let me tell you, in 2022 and like my entire life, I have missed out on so many opportunities just because I felt I wasn't good enough and just because I was getting in my own way. I realized I would rather have embarrassing moments where I make mistakes and I make a fool out of myself rather than live with the regret of something I didn't do. Number four, standing up for yourself will invoke anger in some people. And it's a good thing because you don't want those people in your life. I've been a people pleaser my entire life because that's kind of how I was raised to be. And I always put other people's needs in front of mine and ignored my needs because other people were more important, which is just horrible thinking. And in 2022, I finally snapped and I was like, wait a minute. Why am I doing this? Why am I letting this happen? Why am I letting people take advantage of me? I started laying boundaries. I actually said no to people for like the first time or like the first couple of times in my life. And I was actually met with a lot of hostility and a lot of anger. And they were pissed because they could no longer order me around and tell me what to do, and they could no longer take advantage of me. And they didn't want that happening. The right people will not antagonize you for setting boundaries. They'll actually celebrate it. So what I've learned is that if somebody gets angry at you for standing up for yourself, they probably don't deserve access to you anyway, so cut them out. And number 5, don't try to explain yourself to people who will refuse to listen. You can say, oh, hey, I really like dogs. And that person is gonna be like, so you don't like cats? What about turtles, huh? You don't like whales? What about other animals? Wow, you are so picky. I have actually had someone call me an ableist and told me to check my privilege because I said that all functioning adult human beings need to understand how to wash their face and brush their teeth. These people just flat out refuse to listen to you, and they will distort whatever you say to fit their own twisted narrative. No matter what you say, they are set on misunderstanding you. So don't even bother with their delusion. And honestly, talking to a brick wall is less frustrating than talking to these people. So just save your energy, save your time, because just trust me. Number 6, know when to cut your losses. This is basically sunk cost fallacy, and let me find the definition for it. So the definition for sunk cost fallacy is the phenomenon whereby a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy or course of action because they have invested heavily in it, even when it is clear that abandonment would be more beneficial. I know that we've been told to work hard for something we believe in life, and that is very, very important. But what is kind of equally important, in my opinion, is to know when to quit. I have seen a lot of people stay in horrible jobs just because they've been there for like a couple of years. And same goes with relationships. So for example, my friend was in a relationship that lasted 8 years, and she was miserable. Like, she was being heavily neglected. Both her and her partner were just feeling trapped in the relationship. But the reason they were still together was because they had both invested 8 years of their lives into this relationship, and they felt like it would be a waste to break up. And I get that it's easier for me to look at things objectively from a third party point of view, because when you're in it, you kind of get blinded by the time, the energy, the resources that you put into something that you can't necessarily get back. But wasting 8 years is a lot better than wasting 40. So if something isn't working out, knowing when and how to get out, very, very important. Number 7, the more you ignore it, the more space it'll take up in your life. A lot of us procrastinate. I am a chronic procrastinator, and it is not healthy. And when I need to do something and I'm procrastinating, I find myself growing restless because I feel so guilty about not doing the task that I'm supposed to, but I just don't do it because I'm procrastinating, so I just sit there anxiously. So I could have just done the task without procrastinating, but I chose to be restless and irritable while having no tasks done and less time. Same way goes for emotions too. So one day I was feeling really upset and kind of bummed out about something that happened to me. And instead of facing it like a healthy individual should, I was just kind of like, you know what? No, I'm going to be positive. I am going to look on the bright side of things, and I am going to repress this as far as I can. Yeah, I made it worse by doing that, because the more I repressed it, the stronger it got, to the point that I can only think about that bad thing that happened. And undoing that took a lot longer, and it was a lot more mentally exhausting compared to if I had just processed my emotions in the first place. Ignoring is not going to make it go away, it's going to make it bigger. Number 8, being alone is a lot better than being with toxic people. To me, this is kind of common knowledge, and to a lot of people it might be common knowledge, but surprisingly, a lot of people still stay in very toxic relationships because of the fear of being alone. I remember being in a room full of people, and I just felt the loneliest I had ever been in my entire life. And that was because there were a couple of toxic people in the mix, but there were also a lot of people who just refused to accept me for who I am. And then I got home, and normally I'm the type of person who needs a little bit of downtime between social interactions because I need to recharge my battery, but that's like maybe a couple of days. I was out for like a week and a half because I was exhausted. Being alone gets such a bad rep in society because it's like it's perceived to be the saddest thing ever, but it's actually really freeing and definitely an upgrade than being with toxic people. I wish I would have realized this sooner because I wasted so much time with toxic people just because I was scared to be alone. But once you understand how to be alone and how to enjoy being alone, you're never gonna go back. You're never gonna go back to being with people who are not a good fit for you. Number 9, beauty standards are bullshit. Some of the beauty standards that I've been held to my entire life because I'm Asian is how pale I am, how thin I am, how small my face is, but also because I'm American, it's just how big my butt is, how skinny my waist is, how plump my lips are. And I believed this for the longest time ever. And I was like, you know what? I'm never going to be beautiful. I'm never going to be enough. But then I started to take a look at who I thought was beautiful. And I realized that it's never about the beauty standards when it comes to actual beauty. To me, beauty is all about how kind you are, how secure you are in yourself, how happy you are as a person. But even when I do look at somebody's external features, it's never about how skinny their waist is or how tall they are as a person. It's all about their mannerisms. It's about how they style themselves, how they present themselves, their smile. For example, I hated the way my calves looked growing up because it was a lot bulkier than other people. It was supposed to be like the super very slim calf, and mine was on the muscly side. And it wasn't until somebody else actually complimented me on my calves and told me that they looked strong for me to actually reflect why I hated my calves in the first place. And the reason for that is because the media was constantly brainwashing me from a young age to tell me that my calves were grotesque and unladylike so that they could sell me products that would fix my insecurities. I have one of them. So I bought these because I was insecure about my calves. They're supposed to be like this massager, and they did not work at all because why would they? Beauty standards are there to scare people into developing insecurities they don't need to have, and then profiting off of those insecurities to sell them a product that will ultimately fix them. Stupid. What I've realized is that every single person is beautiful in their own way. And also it's like physically impossible to fit into the beauty standard because it's really hypocritical. It's like you have to be big, but you have to be small. It's like, we're human beings, dude. We're not mannequins. Last but not least, rest is progress. This is directly linked to the very toxic hustle culture and the hyper productivity culture that we have, and it sucks. I don't know when this started, but I started feeling guilty when I did nothing all day, even if I needed that rest. I always had to be doing something productive, whether it be working out, reading, starting projects, booking trips, like whatever it may be, I had to be doing something. And I leaned into this feeling and I constantly worked myself without giving myself proper rest. And then burnout happened. I was irritated, lethargic, exhausted, but worst of all, I found no joy in anything I did anymore. My burnout happened in summer of 2022, and I am still reeling in from what happened like 6 months ago. So pushing myself to be productive and to overwork myself actually hindered my progress a lot. We live in a society that kind of pushes the narrative of you have to constantly be working, otherwise you're wasting your life. And that's just bullshit because resting is just as important as working, if not more important. So while I learned a lot in 2022, these were the top 10 things that I took away from the last 365 days. 2022 was not a kind year to me, but I'm still kind of grateful for what I went through because it allowed me to kind of understand myself a little bit better and understand life a little bit better. And I know that it's cheesy and I'm sorry, but yeah, I don't really know what to expect of 2023. Like I stopped having expectations after 2020. I just stopped. Like I feel like everything just kind of, I am not going to be like, my New Year's resolution is to work out every single day because I have never once fulfilled that resolution after the many years I've resolved to do so. But my resolution for 2023 is to, number one, stop being so apologetic for being myself because I I really need to advocate for myself a lot more, but I'm such a people pleaser that I just apologize if I have an opinion that clashes with somebody else. It's terrible. Number two is to learn more about the world and myself, because I feel like there's still so much to learn about both the world and myself. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck I am. I don't know what the fuck is going on. What the heck? Those are my resolutions for 2023 and my wrap-ups from 2022. I hope that you enjoyed it to a certain extent. Share with me your resolutions if you'd like, and once again, Happy New Year! That is it for this video. I hope that you guys take care of yourselves, and I will see you very soon. Bye!